Hi friends, thanks for joining in today's DIY spring decor video. I'm actually super excited about today's DIYs. They were super fun to make and I think most of them turned out beautifully. So let's go ahead and get crafting with Jacqueline. DIY number one. I have this wreath form that I used a couple years ago, and I took apart a couple of the uh, eggs that used to be on it, and I'm going to replace those with flowers. I have this flower bin that I just keep year round. Right now it's got a lot of my spring stuff in it because I think I have my fall flowers in a different bin. So I'm just going to pick some of those like springy colors. I did blues, a little bit of like the light pinks, and some purples. And I'm just going to add those to this wreath form. And I will go ahead and add the video in the description of when I originally did this wreath form with all the greenery. So if you do want to watch that, you can go ahead and do that. I did forget that I added orange as well to this. I then went ahead and picked up these Dollar Tree stickers. These ones are some butterflies. They're like a 3D butterfly. I thought they would be really, really awesome in this wreath. So I went ahead and just cut out and left the sticker onto the backing that came with it. And then I'm just going to cut out an outline of the butterfly itself and with the backing still attached, and then peel away the actual sticker. And then I just used some of the greenery that I had left over from some of the flowers, and I did not show in this one, but I did add a little bit of hot glue to the back of the piece of the sticker, so that way it stuck a little bit better to that greenery. And then I'm just going to add that to the wreath to give this a little bit more of dimension and to add those beautiful little butterflies around the entire wreath. And I just continued to do this until I had all of the pack of green attached to the wreath form. I do believe these stickers will hold up in the rain and weather due to the fact that they're kind of like a laminated plastic material, but I am not 100% sure just because I haven't had it long enough to know. And when it has rained, my door is covered, so I'm not 100% sure if these will be affected by the rain and weather. But I still think it turned out absolutely beautiful. DIY number two, I took these chick ornaments from Dollar Tree and I traced them out with this paper. Now this paper you can't really tell, but I was trying to show you that it is like a 3D effect with some like flowers and leaf designs, which I thought was really beautiful. So we're going to trace out these ornaments and use them for a garland. So I did 6 of these. Actually, I think I did 7, but 6 for the first little go around. And I'm just going to cut the outlined chicks out from this paper, making sure that the 3D design is going to be placed down all the same direction. That way, when I am using the chicks, they can all go the same direction and not have one going the opposite direction. So just kind of making sure that my 3D design is the right way for all of them. And then once I've got all of those cut out, I then just glued them down to the wood piece. I just used this glue from Dollar Tree as well. And then once those are all glued down, we're going to use some ink to just like an ink stamp pad to make the outlined 3D design stand out way more. And I started off with this orange color and did the little feet. I tried really hard to make sure that I just did the feet, which was kind of difficult. So some of them have a little bit extra on the actual chick part, but I basically just stamped it down and then rubbed it across so that I could get the design to pop out, with making sure that the rest of the design was covered with that orange material. Once all the feetsies were done, it was time to move on to the yellow portion of the chicks, and I just did that with another stamping pad. And I just kind of rub it all the way around the entire chick, and then making sure to get the edges pretty good, just because I liked the look of the edges being a little bit more saturated. And then I took some orange yarn and made a little bows just so that the little chicks could have a little bit more dimension. So I added some little bows to all of those little chicks. And then to make the garland rope that these chicks are going to be sitting on, I took 5 strands of yellow yarn, very large strands, and I did 5 strands for each section. So there's 15 strands in total, and I just basically taped the strands to the wall and then started braiding them all the way down. This takes a little while, and because this is such a long piece, I do have to kind of braid and then pull out one of the strands so that they do not get tangled at the bottom, as you can kind of see right here. And it just works out better if you kind of make sure that you're pulling one of the strands all the way through so that there's no tangling. And then once I got about halfway, I kind of retaped it so that I wasn't trying to do it from all the way across the room. And then once the braid was finished, I made sure that I tied the ends, just both ends, and then I am going to hot glue the little chicks to I started with the 7th chick and glued that to the very middle, and then just kind of spaced out evenly to make the rest of the chicks fit onto the garland. Okay, and DIY number 3. So this one I used some cardboard. This one's just from like an old Amazon box. But I basically just am going to cut out a design. So this one's going to be a butterfly. And so I'm just going to cut out 1/2 of the butterfly, just using some rotary cutters that I have. These ones are cardboard specific. And by that, I don't mean that they're meant for cardboard. It's just that I have a couple of rotary cutters, and I cut cardboard pretty frequently. So I made a note on these ones that they're only for cardboard, so you don't try cutting some fabric with them and struggle really hard. But I basically just do the 1/2 and then folded it over and did the other half because butterflies are symmetrical. So I wanted to make sure that they were the exact on both sides. So then once I've got the full thing cut out, I am then just going to use a little X-Acto knife to cut some holes, and then place some beautiful flowers inside of these holes. And like I said, the butterflies are symmetrical, so whatever I do on the right side, I need to do on the left side, or I guess in this case, it's the left side and then the right side. To make the holes with the X-Acto knife, I basically just do 1 X using the X-Acto knife and then push the flower stem portion into the cardboard. Now, I think this would be really pretty with some real flowers, but they would probably die really fast, so I am just going to use these fake flowers and the cardboard. The yellow flowers I got from a bouquet from Michael's, and then I also picked up just some of these blue ones from Michael's as well. And I've actually had these on hand for a couple years, but I thought they were perfect for this, so I just wanted to let you know that I did get them from Michael's, so they might still have them. And then just for the blues, I wanted and didn't have a ton left over, so I did still want to place them to cover up more of the cardboard. So I did end up cutting one of the pieces, and I'm just going to hot glue those down instead of sticking them into the cardboard. And then once I've got those done, I then turn to the back side and glue all of the pieces to the cardboard a little bit more so that everything is a bit more secure. I took 2 of the stems from the yellow flowers, and I just, because there's wire inside of them, I just kind of manipulated them into looking like the little antennas, I think, from the butterfly, just to give this a little bit more of a butterfly look so that it can more resemble one instead of just looking like a glob of flowers. And then I just glued those to the back. Now, I do want to know whether you guys would do this project with some flowers on hand, or if you'd go pick up some flowers. And if so, what colors would you do for your butterfly? Would you make it like an actual butterfly and so do specific colors, or would you guys even do this at all? Go ahead and leave me a comment letting me know what you would do and what colors you'd choose. Now for DIY number 4. This is probably the one that I was the most excited about when I first thought about it. So I picked up this carrot wreath form from Dollar Tree, and then I went to Joann's before they announced their closing sale, and they're closing all of their stores, and I picked up a couple of these jewelry pieces. So you can pick these up if they are still available at Joann's. Also, you can probably find some other ones at any of your local craft store. What is everyone's thoughts about the Joann's closing? I am personally very disappointed and saddened just because I go to Joann's so much for their fabric. I like to make my own clothes, so I am really saddened by that. I love to be able to feel the fabrics and decide in person whether or not I am going to buy them. So that one's disappointing for me for sure. But anyways, moving right along to this project that we are doing right now, I basically just took some of these Dollar Tree little findings, and then I am using the small section of the wire pieces. They've got a little ledge at the bottom so that the beads do not fall off, and I'm going to stack some beads onto those, and then I use some pliers, or I guess these ones are like the rounded pliers. So I just make a little loop at the very top, and then use a jumping ring to attach these to the wreath itself. And then as you can see right here, once I've got those added to the wreath, you can see that they just move around a bunch. And I knew this was going to happen, but I wanted to know like how bad it was going to be. So I did do one or a couple before I knew that I needed to use some wire and make some designs so that the pieces wouldn't be moving around so much. The design I went with was just basically the exact same zigzaggy style as the orange, and so I just did that with this section as well, and I basically just wrap the wire around at the very top, and then go to the bottom and wrap it around again. And I'm just making sure that I'm pulling tight just so that the wire itself is not going to be all lumpy and it's going to be more straight. So I just continue to do that design all the way around basically the entire orange section of this wreath form, this carrot wreath. Once I had the wire mostly how I wanted it, at least for the top section, I went through and added more and more of the beads. And then I'm just going to continue to add beads and wire throughout the entire thing. I think this process was really fun for me, but I do really like jewelry making. So this is very tedious if you don't enjoy that kind of stuff, just because it takes a very long time. But for some people that do enjoy jewelry making, this project was so fun to do. And I mean, look at that shine. It's so pretty. And right here, I'm just showing you that I did connect two of those Dollar Tree little bindings together just because the beads were not long enough, but I wanted that section to be longer. So that's just kind of what I used just because I thought the gold from those Dollar Tree bindings were perfect, and it kept the cost down a little bit from this rather expensive project just because beads are not very cheap. Once the orange section was fully completed, I was able to do this green section of the leaves with things I already had on hand. So I did pick up this Michael's spring floral wire. I think it was 2 years ago when they were 90% off. I do think that they are on sale right now if you do want to pick that up, but I did just have this on hand already, so I decided I would add the greenery to the top. So I just went ahead and started wrapping the entire top with this greenery, and then I doubled up for the sections that I wanted to do kind of that design with to add extra beads to. Just because this wire is very thin and I was worried that it would, if it gets into the wind, it would crack or break. So I doubled up on that. And then I just continued with basically the same design that I did for the bottom, just a little extra diagonals or triangle design. And then once I have the entire thing wrapped, I then went into my stash and found the perfect beads for these. I used the leaf and greenery beads that I already had and continued with the top section, adding all of the beads to that. And because the section is already so long, I won't bore you with that, but we'll end up showing you the final results. I do think this would be absolutely stunning in the sunshine, although it has been insanely cloudy the last few days, so I have not been able to show you what it would look like in the sun, although I do still think it sparkles a little bit with the flash on the camera. For DIY number 5, I took this Dollar Tree's wooden chick. I think it looks like a chick just hatching, so it's got like its little egg down below. So I first do a layer of yellow just with a paintbrush, and then once I let that dry, I took a heat gun to dry it a little faster. But once I let that dry, I then did another layer with a sponge brush. You can also find these brushes at Dollar Tree as well, just to give this chick a little bit more texture and to have thicker paint. And then while I'm waiting for that to dry, I take a piece of cardstock white paper and I'm tracing the bottom of this little wood piece to be the shape of the egg. I then took a little bit of diagonal or squares out of this section to kind of make it look like it's broken up. And then I also have this really cool tool that is going to make it look more three-dimensional, I guess. It kind of gives it like a zigzag design. So I just add the paper into that little tool and then use that, and it gives it kind of like this little edging design. And so then I am just going to cut it back down to the exact shape that I want, because when I first cut it out, I think I did it a little bit too big. So I just wanted to push it back down so it's not covering so much of the chick. And then I took some lace and some white ribbon, and I'm going to make a little bow section for this. And then I also have this cute little button on hand as well, so I'm going to use that for the center of this little bow. I am going to glue all of these little ribbons together, ending with the little button on the top. Once the ribbon is all glued together, I then just hot glue the little egg paper, to the wood piece, and then glue the little ribbon button piece on top of that. And of course, this little chick needs a face, so I gave some little eyes with these little jewels that I have on hand. These are a really old pack from Michael's, but I know they do have some things that are kind of similar that you could use as well. And then I am just going to draw on a little mouth using a pointed or like a fine point Sharpie pen. And isn't he just the absolute cutest? I absolutely love this one. I think it turned out so stinking cute for spring.